This episode is proudly sponsored by Chill Bombs, the makers of handmade, all-natural CBD-infused bath bombs. Check them out at chillbombs.com and use our code SPIRITS for 10% off. Enjoy the show, y'all! Hey, y'all, I'm Leah Lawrence.
And I'm her husband, Mitch Lawrence.
And you are listening to the Southern Spirits Podcast, where I regale my husband with Southern stories of the macabre, creepy, and strange.
And I drink.
So what are you drinking tonight, Mitchell?
Well, Leah, our beer tonight is Dragoon Red Ale. Brewed and packaged by Cross-Eyed Owl Brewing in Decatur, Alabama. It's 5% alcohol by volume. Let's read the can. Dragoons were cavalrymen who were a staple of the British Army in the 17th and 18th centuries. Similarly, our red ale is a staple of our beer lineup, and the color makes us think of British Army redcoats. A beautifully simple ale with a deep red color and an easy drinking balance. End quote. I just want to make a special note here that I really hate having to recite the word similarly. It's hard for me with all the L's in it. It's really difficult.
Similarly?
Similarly. Similarly. Oh, God. Anyway, I don't have anything special to say about this besides what they said. It is very simple, and it's easy drinking. I do like the taste, but there's just nothing characteristic about it, really. It's good, but there's nothing special to say. I like it, though. But, you know, they summed it up themselves on their can. Leah, do you have anything to say about it?
I prefer their beers in their tap room to their beers in the can, and I've only ever had this in the can, but I don't know, maybe it's just a tap room experience is better than a can experience. Just
it always is.
But I mean, in their brewery, they also brew sodas, and they'll do you a custom shandy, so you can get one of their custom soda flavors made with a shandy, like with one of their beers, and make your own kind of beer cocktail, and it's really neat. Like I said, by itself, it's good. It's easy drinking, but you're right. It's nondescript. It's not super special, I guess, but I feel like if you paired this with like a dark cherry soda or something, it would be really fucking good. So
hell yeah. But yeah, there's just nothing pops out about it. It's a red ale. That's it. There's,
nothing wrong with it.
No, not at all. It just doesn't stand out from the pack is all.
Yep.
It is good, though. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. And as Leah was saying, we have been to their tap room. They're very close to us. Decatur is the next town over from our hometown of Hartselle.
Yep.
And we've been there just once, I think.
No, we've been there a couple times.
Okay. Yeah, we have. She's right. And yeah, they have good beer in their tap room. So, they have one called the Cathead IPA, which is spelled Co-Taco, and I drive by that town every day on my way to work, and I tell Leah something happened in Kotaco, and she says, no, it's Kateka. I'm like, no, it's Kotaco. But they have a beer named after that, and I want to have that on as well, but we'll get there, maybe.
That area of the world, it's Koteka or Floret.
No.
It's not Kotaco.
It is Kotaco.
It's Kateka and Floret.
That's how it's spelled, at least.
No, sorry.
Oh, anyway, our shot in the dark for the night. We finally have a new liquor on. It's been a while.
Huzzah!
But we got one, and it's exciting.
We went to the store.
Yeah, we did. We have Cathead pecan-flavored vodka, produced and bottled by Bottle Tree Beverage Company in Madison, Mississippi. 35% alcohol by volume. And let's read the bottle. We make our pecan-flavored vodka by hand in small batches. Our process consists of careful macerations while using only the most quality ingredients. We are proud of our fine heritage. We support live music, genuine arts, and the preservation of our deep southern roots. Enjoy our beverage responsibly while entertaining the real aspects of life. End quote. And what I have to say is that this, for me, is a new favorite. This may stick around in the Lawrence household for quite a while. I'm saying we might buy it some more because it's cheap too. It's like $16 for a bottle of this, which I'm happy about. It's so good. It's sweet and it's smooth. I 100% recommend getting this if you have the ability to at any time. I got a 10 out of 10 on ice. It's got a real heavy nut and caramel like aroma and flavor to it. You can really taste that pecan flavor, but there's also like some sweet caramel in there just by itself. I can't wait to take a shot of this because it's probably going to burn like a motherfucker, but it's really good to sip. We also made a special cocktail. It was Leah looked it up.
Leah didn't look it up. Leah made it up.
Leah made it up. There we go. I thought you got some ideas looking them up.
Yeah, but I wasn't about to go out and make a ginger simple syrup. I'm sorry.
No, that's stupid.
I love y'all, but I'm not that into it, so...
Well, what she did make is called a pecan pie teeny. It's in a shaker. You put equal parts pecan. Good God, I'm struggling.
I need some pecans.
Pecans, please. In a shaker, you put equal parts of the pecan vodka, some Smirnoff caramel vodka, which we already had on hand, so that was nice.
Anything that's caramel flavored and liquor would work.
Yeah, and then you fill the rest of the shaker with milk. We have 2% milk just for those. We are watching ourselves. Thank you. Oh, Jesus. And then you add some Tarani salted caramel drink syrup to taste. Shake all that up and strain it into a glass. And good God, it's good. It got a 10 out of 10 as well. It's like an adult milkshake almost. Yeah. It's so good.
It's like a cream martini kind of thing. And if you want to be super duper fucking fancy about it, you can get some caramel syrup and dip the rim of your glass in it, and then crushed pecans. How good would that be as a rim?
Oh, it'd be such a good rim.
Good rim job. Yeah. So good.
The fuck is wrong with you?
What?
Oh, what a good rim job that would be.
I like fancy rims, okay?
Ugh, don't we all?
It's delicious.
Well, it gets a 10 out of 10 overall because it's damn good. And we are finally done with the alcohols, Leah. So you may take it away with whatever we have next.
All right, well, let's go directly into a funny place name. Are you ready for that?
I'm so ready.
All right, well, we're going back to the great state of Texas, and we are going to be talking about Wizard Wells.
Wizard Wells?
Wizard Wells.
Okay.
So
I'm
originally, this town was actually called Old Vineyard, and it was named for a local resident named G.W. Vineyard. But in the 1880s, this old man, G.W. Vineyard, was on his property, and he had sort of sores on his legs, that open sores that he had been to the doctor couldn't do anything about it. It was just, problematic, but he was fine, but it was sore for him.
It's one of two things. It's either meth or AIDS.
I don't think it's either at that time.
We'll see.
Anyway.
We'll see what happens with the story.
So anyway, he had these sores on his legs, and he eventually found a water spring, like a mineral spring in his area on his property, and he started bathing in the spring, and he started drinking the water, and all of the sores on his legs went away. And because of the healing properties of the spring water there, they started calling it the Wizard Well because it was magical and it healed his wounds. So they, a little bit of a tourist population sort of drummed up around it because the mineral spring was, useful, I guess. But they didn't really have a railroad stop. There was no linking the train station, into the town. So it really didn't boom like a lot of the other mineral spring towns did at the time period. So, the height of the population of this town was 20s through the 40s, and it was only about 200 people permanent living there. Everybody else was in and out, kind of touristy kind of thing. So now apparently there's only about 70 people living there, but it's still a town, it's still there, and it's still called Wizard Wells, Texas.
Well, good, and I can tell you why it did not boom like the other spring towns.
Why's that?
Because there's a fucking guy in the spring with open sores on.
Open sores.
Right. No one's gonna come by and be like, "We got a fresh spring," and then there's just a guy there with no teeth going.
I didn't say anything about his teeth.
Leah, he doesn't have teeth.
He fixed his sores. He's fine now.
What fixed his teeth?
Nothing fixed his teeth. Yeah. Nothing was wrong with his teeth. It was just his legs.
Whatever. Meth also fucks up your mouth. I'm just saying.
It wasn't meth.
Well.
Meth had not been synthesized at that point.
Well, it was coming. It was right around the bend there. And there's no way, absolutely no way that people would drink out of that spring. Ugh, good God. Yeah, it's just like, okay. Just imagine being a person like a week before that guy showed up. And just like, oh, look, a brand new hot spring. I'm going to settle right here. I'm going to start a business.
It wasn't a hot spring. It was a mineral spring.
A mineral spring. I'm sorry. I'm going to settle right here. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to boom. I'm going to go right into the next century looking great. And then this guy just waddles into town like, I'm going to put my sores in this water.
He was the one that originally, like, the town was named after him, okay?
Yeah.
He didn't just wander in the town like some vagrant with weird leg sores.
Yeah.
He was an old dude that lived there and was like, might as well give this shit a chance.
Everybody else came into town. It's like that scene in Scary Movie 2. You ever see that?
No, I've never seen that movie.
Chris Elliott had the messed up hand, but he put his hand in everything. That's that guy. He's going into the spring, just dipping his legs. He put his oh my God, he tried his legs at the dairy first. Nobody would take him. Oh, the town dairy. Like he was trying to dip it in the cheese and forget it, Leah.
My thought is he probably had eczema and there was an excess of sulfur in the spring and that helped his itching. So that'd be my guess of what actually happened with the wizard well, but whatever.
I'm still completely grossed out.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can see that. I wouldn't want to stick my legs in something and then let people drink about it. And I don't have open sores, so there you go.
Ugh.
Weird.
Well, I mean, I can't say I wouldn't be that guy.
You would totally be
if
that guy.
I had sores on my legs, I'd be like, fuck y'all, they're going in the spring.
All right, well, let's move on because that's gross.
I'm so grossed out.
Okay.
Ugh. All right, go ahead.
All right, so we're going to start out the evening in the great state of North Carolina, and we are going to be talking about the Ballad of Frankie Silver.
Okay. This is fun. It's about a song?
Yes.
Ooh.
So the Ballad of Frankie Silver is a folk song from North Carolina, and people claim that it was written by a woman that was in prison awaiting execution for her husband's murder. Now, we'll talk about later why that's not true, but the story of it is true.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about that now. All right?
Here we go.
All right, so there's this young woman. She's about 18 years old or so. Her name was Frances Stewart, and she married a man who was about a year older than she was, and his name was Charles Silver. So they settled into a little cabin that Charles bought on some property that his family had given them as a wedding gift. And he built this little cabin. It was in Burke County, North Carolina. And they were okay to begin with. Like it was a normal marriage to start out with. But then Charlie started drinking.
He got sores on his legs.
He didn't get sores on his legs.
Ugh.
He started drinking and they started fighting, and it was problematic. He was known to hit her pretty frequently. It was an abusive situation. Frankie eventually gave birth to a daughter, and the daughter's name was Nancy. And about the time Nancy turned 13 months old, Frankie just straight up killed Charlie.
Jesus.
So on December the 22nd of 1831, Frankie, she killed him. I mean, there's no better way to say it. Like, she chopped him up with an axe.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next day, Frankie asked her in-laws if they'd seen Charlie, and she's like, "Oh, where'd Charlie go? He went hunting yesterday, and he hasn't come back, and I don't know where he's at, and I am so concerned." And they didn't know where he was, so they went to ask the guy that he usually went hunting with, and his name was George Young. And George said, "I don't know what you're talking about. We didn't go hunting or anything. I haven't seen Charlie in a couple weeks. Like, I don't know what you mean." So at that point, Charlie's dad was like, okay, something is fucking fishy. So he called the sheriff to investigate. So the sheriff shows up to the couple's cabin, and it turns out that there was some blood spattered in places, and there were some charred like greasy residue in the fireplace. And eventually he discovered some charred body parts underneath the floorboards. So, yeah, it was really gross. And shot in the dark. Charlie's family ended up burying the pieces of their son as they were discovered by the police, which took a little while to find the whole corpse. So
they did find all of him?
They found him all.
Oh, God.
But it took, they buried it as they went, so it resulted in multiple burial plots. So the question is, how many burial plots did they end up digging and interring their son in?
Okay.
Well, the pieces of their son, I guess. Anyway, was it A3, B5, or C7?
This is a strange question, so I'll go middle of the road, 5.
You are incorrect.
Fucking A.
Charlie's family buried the pieces of their son as they were found in 3 separate graves.
Well, answer me this.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they remember where they put him the first time, put the pieces the first time, and just put them all there?
Because I think they were, they dug the hole, they put the pieces in, they covered it up because, pieces of burnt human flesh kind of decompose and it's gross. And they didn't want to, just reopen that hole after they found more, so they just dug another hole.
Okay, so for,
sanitary and
humanity,
and the fact that I bet that's traumatizing as shit.
Yeah.
So that's probably the reason.
All right.
But anyway,
I'm gonna take this shot.
Go ahead.
You can continue as I go.
All right.
Or whatever you want.
Take the shot. Is it good?
Yeah, that's really good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Like a smooth, nice, not terrible shot?
Yeah, at the very, very, very tail end, you get some burn.
Yeah.
Some vodka burn.
It's vodka,
but there is no bad flavor whatsoever.
Nice. All right.
Went straight down. Oh.
So anyway, they buried the pieces in 3 separate plots, and it turns out that the Silver family was pretty wealthy. And the Stewart family, Frankie's family, was not wealthy at all.
Okay.
So the Silvers basically accused Frankie's entire family of being involved in killing Charlie as part of a scheme to steal the land that the Silver family had given to Charlie as a wedding gift for the couple.
Okay.
And Charlie's brother, whose name was Alfred, told the story while he was in He was the one that was brought up to testify, I guess, but he wasn't even there, which makes the whole thing kind of weird and nonsensical.
Yeah, why would he be testifying?
I don't know, but he was the one that was brought to testify in court about the murder, and he described the murder like he had been there, saying how Frankie tried to chop Charlie's head off as he slept, and all of the, just very, violent accusations.
How was this not thrown out of court?
Well, it was the 18-somethings, and it was...
they
not the same
Mason.
rules.
They needed Perry Mason so
yeah,
bad.
Indeed. So it ended up that basically Frankie got arrested like she should have been, along with her mother and her brother, who were suspected of helping her hide the evidence of the murder. So eventually the charges against her family members were dropped, but Frankie stayed in jail in the Morganton prison.
Okay.
So her trial began on March the 29th of 1832, and it only took 2 days. Frankie's lawyer's name was Thomas Wilson, and he entered a not guilty plea on... he basically said that Frankie didn't kill Charlie. That was his plea of not guilty. She didn't do it. And that means that because he put in a not guilty plea, I guess, it kept her from being able to say that it was in self-defense. So there were extenuating circumstances to the fact that she killed him. So that is what a lot of people say. Him being a shitty lawyer is basically why she ended up getting convicted, because in this time period, if she had been allowed to say, yes, I killed him, but I killed him because he is a, abusive ass face, it might have been more sympathetic, and she probably wouldn't have gotten sentenced the way she was. So basically her lawyer was terrible. But anyway, so he put in the not guilty plea. And the laws of that time were a lot different than they are currently, because defendants were not allowed to testify in criminal cases for themselves.
Why?
I don't know. It didn't happen that you couldn't start doing that until like the second half of the 19th century, when some of the laws changed around that kind of topic. But the witnesses were called by the Silver family, and all of the witnesses basically said, oh, Frankie is the worst wife. She was a terrible wife to him. She was super jealous, didn't want him to spend any time outside of the household. She was just a bad, terrible, no good, very bad wife. And that she, just chopped him up to pieces while he slept because she's a bitch. Like nothing, just character assassination, basically.
The new CBS show coming this fall, The Worst Wife. I can't wait.
I'd watch it. Anyway, so the evidence that they had against her was all circumstantial, and so the jury ended up being deadlocked for a little while. So they asked to rehear some of the testimony, and they came and they did that, and they listened to it again, and eventually but I mean, it only took 2 days, so it must not have been that bad of a deadlock. So ultimately they found her guilty. She was sentenced to hang. And the state Supreme Court, it appealed all the way up to the state Supreme Court, and they upheld the verdict after that appeal. And they set her execution date for June the 28th of 1833. So she had a year to wait for her execution date. And while she was in jail, she basically was like, okay, look, I'm going to tell what really happened. This is my side of the story. Let's get this out there. So she couldn't actually read or write. She was completely illiterate, but she got her lawyer to, she dictated letters, to her lawyer. And these letters were to the governor, Montfort Stokes, which is a great name. And she was asking for clemency and trying to explain why she did what she did. And they don't have the letters anymore. They've been lost somehow. But they basically explained that Charlie was a very drunk, abusive ass-face throughout their entire marriage, that he was abusive to their daughter, abusive to her, and that on the night that he died, he was in the process of, he got super drunk and was trying to load his gun up so he could shoot her. And Frankie was like, I'm not going to be shot by this motherfucker. So she picked up an axe that was nearby and she smacked at him in self-defense. And the smack, I guess, opened up an artery and he bled out. And she's like, well, fuck, and had to, hide the body, I guess.
Well, fuck.
Yeah. So eventually this story got out in the media and the newspapers and stuff like that. And eventually public opinion sort of got swayed in this particular case because, the whole story from not her point of view was she's just a murderous bitch for no good reason. The story that she's portraying is she was, a battered woman and just trying to defend herself and her daughter. So, eventually dozens of people started these petitions to pardon her or commute her sentence, and all of these petitions were sent to the governor. And the petitions even include 7 of the 12 jurors that convicted her. They signed on saying, yeah, if we had known this, if we were allowed to know all of this during the trial, we wouldn't have convicted her, that kind of thing. But the governor was like, look, I can't pardon her unless all of the jurors sign on, so sorry.
Well, that's stupid.
Yeah, that's what I said. But eventually they got a new governor, so everybody's like, okay, maybe this new governor's not a dick face. So his name is David L. Swain.
I'll bet he is.
He is. Mm-hmm. He was elected the interim governor for some reason. I don't know anything about North Carolina governors, but Mm-hmm. So while he was governor, he was sympathetic to her and he was like, yeah, I understand that it sucks for you, but I'm not going to pardon you. I'm sorry. Bye. So he did not pardon her. So her execution date stood. But in a last ditch effort, her family was like, you know what? We're going to bust this girl out of prison. So they helped her escape from jail on May the 18th of 1833.
Really?
And it's very highly speculated that there was a jailer that was very sympathetic to her story and helped her get out.
Oh, okay.
So she escaped. She cut her hair super duper short. She put on boys' clothes. She was dressed as a young man. And Frankie's father and her uncle ended up hightailing it towards the Tennessee border. But unfortunately, the police caught up with them and arrested them before they got over state lines. And so she...
Well, that's sad.
Yeah, and so she was hung there on July the 12th of 1833. And so here's where some of the weird folklore story parts of it come into play. So I mentioned at the beginning this was the story of the ballad of Frankie Silver.
Yeah.
Well, there's a song, and I'm not going to read it to you because it's very long and you can just literally Google it and listen to someone sing it much better than I ever could.
I want to hear you sing it.
Not going to do it.
Oh, man.
But a lot of people say this song's a confession or whatever. And the folklore is that she's the one who wrote this song and that she asked to sing this song as her last statement. But that her father yelled, "Keep it inside, Frankie. Don't talk about it," you know. Or other people say that she actually did end up singing this song. But basically, from what everybody can gather, it's not 100% sure. But this song really wasn't written until about 50 years after it happened, by who they believe was a man named Thomas S. Scott, and he was a school teacher there in Morganton, North Carolina. And he wrote it about that in her perspective and not her actually having, done it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they ended up burying Frankie there in an unmarked grave a few miles from Morganton. In 1952, a lady named Beatrice Cobb, who was the publisher of the local newspaper, she had a gravestone added in 1952 for Frankie Silver. And it says that she was the first woman to hang in Burke County on the headstone, but that's not true. She was the first white woman to be hung in that county, and the only white woman, I believe, that was ever hung in that county as well.
Really?
But, yeah, so that was the story of Frankie Silver.
I still want to hear you sing the song.
I'm not going to sing it, but I've written down a couple of the stanza if you want me to read that, but
I think our listeners deserve that, Leah.
You want me to read it for them?
I want you to sing it for them.
Mitchell, I don't know the tune.
I don't care. You could read it if you want to.
But it is in standard meter, so I could sing it to the tune of the Gilligan's Island theme song or the Yellow Rose of Texas. There's a lot of songs that do that.
Well, whatever you feel like. You just do it.
I'm not going to do it. It's fine.
Okay.
Y'all can read it.
All right. Well, too bad, y'all. Sucks to be you.
Fine, but it is going to be to the tune of, I've only got 2 stanzas clipped out here. It's the end part of it. But since I don't know the actual tune, I'm going to sing it to the Gilligan's Island theme song because...
Love it.
I can. This dreadful, dark, and dismal day has swept my glories all away. My sun goes down, my days are past, and I must leave this world at last.
A 3-hour tour.
Oh Lord, what will become of me? I am condemned, all you now say. Fuck, this is hard.
No, you fucked up.
It's not working. Anyway, sorry. Let me just say it instead of singing it.
Okay.
This dreadful, dark, and dismal day has swept my glories all away. My sun goes down, my days are past, and I must leave this world at last. O Lord, what will become of me? I am condemned, you all now see. To heaven or hell my soul must fly, all in a moment when I die. So.
A 3-hour tour.
A 3-hour tour.
Well, I enjoyed that.
Okay, well.
I enjoyed your singing. You were a great singer.
Y'all, I'm not a singer. I'm sorry.
You are capable of singing.
Oh, yeah, everybody is, but singing
I'm
well.
saying that, you were in musical theater productions and stuff and have been recently, and you can sing.
Yeah. I mean, I can sing, but I'm what I like to refer to as a character singer. So if you give me a weird accent, or if you...
It's like how I describe myself as water cooler funny. I think you're a water cooler singer.
Rude, eh? No, like, if you give me a villain song, I can smash it every time.
Smash it, baby.
I am like a killer villain. I am like, if you give me the quirky song, I'm great. But if you give me like an ingenue kind of like really beautiful ballad that has to be like just really smooth and beautiful, that's not me. I can't do that. I'm more of a character singer. Thank you very much.
Can sing the fuck out of some water cooler tunes.
You're such a rude person.
What did I do that was rude?
Anyway, just rude. But yeah, so I mean, I've done full musical productions. I was the fairy godmother in Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. So if you
Tyler
need that,
Perry's Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella.
What?
Tyler Perry presents Rodgers and Hammerstein's.
I would watch that. That would probably be funny as
Cinderella,
shit.
based on the novel Push by Sapphire.
Oh, that got weird.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, are we done with story 1 then?
Yeah, that was it.
Hey y'all, we have a new sponsor. We want to introduce you to From Marty. From Marty is an upscale discount store that lives on your phone. The fabulous team over at From Marty finds awesome stuff and offers it to you at amazing discount prices. But Leah, you may ask, what kind of stuff do they have? Well, Marty's stuff is cute and quirky. One day it might be a sticker pack for the kids. Other days it might be a watch or a piece of jewelry. Marty is always bringing you new and exciting offers directly to your phone. Just go to the App Store and search From Marty, or go to FromMarty.com to snag this fun new shopping experience. And bonus, if you allow push notifications on your phone, you have a chance to win one of the 10 free items they give away every single day. Just be one of the first 10 to respond, and that day's item is yours for free. Whether you need cute gifts for friends, stocking stuffers for the kids, or you just want to treat yourself without breaking the bank, From Marty is here to bring you a boutique experience at a budget price. Download From Marty's 5-star rated app from the App Store today.
Okay. Well, let's have you sing in this next story then.
Actually, there is a story that I want to do that is based on a song that I learned in elementary school, and I really want to do it, but I feel like it would be weird. But anyway, that might be a Halloween episode. We'll talk about it.
I'm up for it.
Anyway, if you want to hear Leah sing more and or better, send us an email. We'll take your suggestions. Anyway. Okay. So for our second story of the evening, we are going to be talking about something that is mildly nightmare inducing.
Oh, I'm so happy then. I mean, we did the fucking claustrophobic nightmare underwater last week. Let's do this one.
Well, this one, if you don't like water, is going to be fine because we're doing a fire instead.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Okay.
I don't mind fires. Yeah. Yeah. I'm fine. I'm literally exactly opposite. You know, like I'm terrified of water, but fire, I'm really not that scared of fire.
Really? Because it's about to get real bad.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that whatever we're about to hear is plenty scary. I'm saying in everyday life, I am actually really scared of deep water.
Yeah.
I'm not very scared of fire.
Okay, good. Well, you're going to need that optimism because...
Yay.
It gets bad. Anyway, so we are talking about the Winecoff Hotel fire in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, that sounds great.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It is actually the deadliest hotel fire in the United States ever. Yeah.
Just the fact that that's a category is upsetting.
It is a category, which I didn't know it was a category either, and now I'm terrified to stay in a fucking hotel, but whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
This particular fire changed a lot of the rules around hotel safety and fire safety in general, and you'll find out why. But anyway, so the Winecoff Hotel was located in Atlanta, Georgia. It was built. It was built on the corner of Peachtree and Ellis Street by a man named W. Frank Winecoff in 1913. And after he retired, he basically kept a suite at that hotel for the rest of his life. He loved that hotel. He thought it was the safest place ever. He and his wife had like built it just because like their house had burned down, and they're like, oh, we need to build something that's fireproof, right?
What?
Their whole thing is like, we're going to build this hotel. It's going to be fireproof. Fireproof, fireproof, fireproof.
Hold on. Their house burnt down, so they built a hotel?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. It was weird. Rich people. Am I right?
How weird to be rich. Oh, God. My car ran out of gas. I guess I'll buy a Bentley. Shit.
Anyway.
I don't want to be forced into it. But
yeah, but sometimes you just got to buy a hotel.
Yeah, sometimes you
Or
just got to
build a
bite the
hotel.
bullet.
But anyway, so it was even called fireproof, quote, by the National Board of Fire Underwriters. So like their insurance agents basically had this thing insured, but like it was basically fireproof. You know, that was literally what they called it, which they don't call anything that anymore just because it's not. But anyway, so this particular hotel, you know, it was, did I say when it was built? Oh, yeah, 1913.
Yeah, 1913 is in there somewhere.
Yeah, it was built in 1913. It's, yeah, so at this time point, sprinkler systems were pretty much not a thing. I mean, there were in certain buildings, but like it was not standard in a hotel. So it had no sprinkler system. And on top of that, it had no outside fire escapes. The whole thing was built with a central staircase that wound around a bank of elevators. So it had a bank of elevators in the very center going all the way up the building. And then it had a staircase system that sort of spiraled up around the, you know, elevators. You know what I mean?
Fucking weird.
Yeah. So like there were no exterior like staircases. It was just you have to go up and down through the center of the building every time. That was the only way in and out of all of these floors. And so the whole thing was made with pretty much what they called fireproof material. So it was all steel beams. It was all encased in concrete. Everything was, you know, for that time, incredibly safe, done very well. It was like the highest quality kind of fireproof framework that you could possibly do. And the thought behind fireproof buildings was that it could catch on fire and gut the whole building, but it would structurally still be fine. It wasn't going to fall down. You could just put new stuff in it, kind of stuff.
Okay.
So just as this is the only question that I could ask that didn't seem super callous.
Oh, God.
Shot in the dark.
Okay, hold on.
How many stories tall was the Weinkauf Hotel?
Oh, Leah, you're such a bad person.
Was it A, 10 stories tall? Was it B, 15 stories tall? Or was it C, 20 stories tall?
Oh, God, I don't know. I'm going to go with 20 stories.
You're incorrect.
God damn.
It was 15 stories tall.
Okay. Let me find the buzzer. Hold on. Ugh. Okay. Do you want to take a shot of this?
Yeah, give it to me.
All right, I'm going to give you this, and then I'll take mine for the penalty.
Okay.
But you try that first. I love it, personally. But, you know, I am myself, and that's all there is to it. What, are you washing it down with water? That's not good enough. You got to get some flavor up in there.
It's not bad. I like the honeysuckle better. I kind of get that weird vodka burn in my nose, but it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, burning does happen. All right, I'm about to get...
I like the flavor a lot, but of the two, that the flavored ones that they make all the time, I like the honeysuckle better.
I'm about to get fucking trashed, so I apologize ahead of time for the rest of this episode. I'm probably going to play with the sound effects a little bit in the middle of you talking.
Don't touch that board.
Oh, you go ahead. I'm about to take this shot.
All right. So, yeah, it was 15 stories tall. They numbered the floors consecutively like you do, except that they did not have a number 13. So it was technically floors 1 through 16. They just omitted the 13 for obvious reasons.
Oh, God.
And so the entire structure was a steel-framed floors, roof. Everything was made out of concrete. The exterior was 12 inches thick of brick paneling. The inside partitions were constructed out of tile that were plastered on both sides. Everything, like the structure itself, was stable as shit. Unfortunately, everything inside of that structure was not.
Yeah.
So the walls and the hallways were covered with what they are describing as painted burlap, which I assume is like a stylish like thing at the time, but I can't imagine painted burlap looking good, but whatever. It had painted burlap from like the baseboards to like midway up, and then over the chair rail it had wallpaper, very flammable fucking wallpaper. The corridors were wall-to-wall carpeting over felt padding, which was all very flammable. The doors to the rooms were made of light wood paneling, and it had wood frames, and the doors all had transoms so it could let, a breeze pass through, which, by the way, in the case of a fire, basically makes the fire way worse.
Yeah, because it's just feeding it.
It's airflow, and airflow will feed a fire,
Right.
The rooms were also all wallpapered, and they apparently changed the wallpaper pretty frequently. So it had as many at the time of the fire. So the fire happened in the 40s, which we'll talk about in just a second. But some of these rooms had up to like 5 layers of very flammable wallpaper on the walls.
Use like probably basically lacquer glue that's most likely very flammable as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the ceilings were all painted, and all of that shit was flammable. And a few of the guest rooms had like fancy wooden Venetian blinds, but most of them had cloth drapes, and those cloth drapes were very fucking flammable. Yeah, everything inside, like, this whole interior of the hotel was basically a giant fucking wick. It just was. I
want to throw back to episode number 1 where I learned that pajamas have to be flame retardant.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And now it seems like everything in hotels also has to be flame retardant, I would guess.
A lot of that stuff is, yeah.
Yeah. But see, I honestly didn't know that fucking pajamas have to be flame retardant.
Specifically children's pajamas.
I had no idea. Throwback. Episode 1.
Yep. So yeah, basically, like I said before, this entire interior of the hotel was a dry, crispy kindling just waiting to go. And the hotel's design, unfortunately, had a bunch of features that also made this much worse. So, the hotel's design featured a lot of vertical openings. So the vertical ventilation shafts, the way the elevator shafts were constructed, the way the staircases around the elevator shafts were constructed, everything just acted basically as a big chimney to draw oxygen up to anything that might be flaming, up on the all 15 of the floors.
Okay.
And so it would just basically act as a way for fire to jump from one floor to the next. It was very poorly designed. And so the whole thing, just bless it, it all went up in smoke one day. And this is the story of that. So on December the 7th of 1946, the Weinkauf Hotel was filled to capacity. They had almost 300 guests. This hotel only had like 194 rooms, and it had 285 people in it at the time of this story. And so it had a shit ton of people in there, and a lot of them were like young teenagers, because there was a convention nearby that was hosted by the YMCA. I don't know exactly what it was, but apparently there were a greater than normal number of teenagers in the hotel as well.
What were they doing?
Like, it was a convention of some sort. I mean, it wasn't. It was like a leadership convention kind of thing.
Oh. You went to one of those one time.
Oh, kill me. That was a terrible experience.
Leah went to a cult gathering in Arkansas.
I sure did. It was fucking terrifying. But anyway, we'll talk about that later.
We
maybe
can tell
on
that
Patreon.
story on Midweek Minis. How about that?
Oh, if you ask me a question about it, I'll let you know. It is problematic. But anyway, I'll still have the t-shirt from that cult meeting. But
Yay.
anyway. So it was about 3:30 in the morning, and the hotel's night clerk, whose name is Comer Rowan, which I love that name, by the way, he was sitting just being the switchboard dude, just waiting for stuff to light up so he can answer questions or whatever. I mean, it was the night shift. There wasn't a lot to do. Everybody was asleep. But the light for room 510 was blinking, so he answered it, and the guest was like, "Hey, can you bring some ginger ale and ice?" And he was like, "Yeah, I can bring you some ginger ale and ice. That's what I am here for." So, Rowan rang up the bellhop that was on duty at the time, and his name was Billy Mobley. And Mobley took all of those items up in the elevator, and he ended up having to wait on the guy to open the door in room 510 because apparently he was in the bathtub and why would you order something while you're in the bathtub? Anyway, I don't know.
Oh my God. If I ever went to a fancy hotel, 100% I'd do that.
You would order things in the bathtub?
I would order from the bathtub. You stand out there and fucking wait. I'll be out in a robe very shortly. And
Anyway.
then just the front will be open of the robe, though. It'll be like a hospital gown, but, front ways.
Anyway, so that took a few minutes, and he was just sort of hanging out in the hallway, and eventually he gives the dude his things. He gets back in the elevator, and the elevator operator slowly takes the car back down because, back then there were hand-operated elevators and not push-button.
Right.
So she takes the elevator car back down, and around the 3rd floor, she starts smelling smoke, and she's like, "Ooh, that's not good." So she takes the elevator all the way down to the basement, and then she runs up the main floor, and she tells the guy at the front desk, that Rowan guy, she's like, "Hey, there's fucking smoke. There's probably fire. You should probably figure that out."
No.
So he told her, "Okay, great. Go to the 5th floor and find that Mobley guy and the engineer who was waiting outside for the guy to get his fucking ginger ale." And so this guy leaped over the desk and they raced upstairs trying to get people to start addressing the fire that was clearly
get out of the bath and address the fire.
And so he went to the telephone board and he called the fire department. And it was 3:43 in the morning by this point. And within a few minutes, the 3 ladder trucks and 4 pumper trucks, ended up showing up, the fire department. So they had different trucks for different things.
Hashtag pumper trucks.
Pumper trucks, water pumping trucks.
No, I get it. It's just funny.
Anyway, so while they were on the 5th floor, the Mobley guy and the engineer come out of this room 510 where they had, spent a few minutes giving the ginger ale to that dude and talking to him.
Did they have to inject it into him in the bathtub?
No.
Why does it take minutes? Why does it take minutes to deliver ginger ale to a man in a bathtub? Is he bathing in ginger ale?
I don't know. I would totally bathe in ginger ale.
Fuck yeah,
awesome.
I fucking love ginger ale.
But anyway, so they're talking to that dude in his room, and as soon as they open the door, basically they see this wall of flame and black smoke, and he's like, "Oh well, shit." So they clearly understand that something's wrong, and so they end up, the Rowan guy at the front desk starts plugging in all of the telephone connections because, once again, it's 1946. It's still a switchboard where you literally have to put in a physical plug to connect telephones and stuff like that. So he hooks everything up and he calls all of the telephones at once and he screams, "Fire, fire, 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 fire." And then the switchboard goes dead. So, that doesn't
the fire
help.
fried the switchboard.
It did. And the guests were basically all still asleep in their hotel rooms unless they miraculously answered the phone in the few minutes that it was functioning. Because obviously this fireproof hotel didn't have an alarm system of any sort.
Yeah, it was fireproof. You don't need the alarm system.
It was fireproof. Why would you need a fucking fire alarm?
The Titanic didn't need lifeboats.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
so by the time the firemen arrived at the building, everything was in fucking chaos. It was filled with people just screaming and being terrified, which granted, obviously. And so it was to the point where, like, okay, so the fire was at the 5th floor and up. So everything below that they were evacuating pretty easily, not a problem. But from the 5th floor up, that's 10 floors of people that literally were trapped by a fire because they couldn't go down the elevator, obviously, because the shaft was filled with smoke and fire. The same thing with the staircases, and there were no external staircases. There were no staircases on the outer perimeter of the building. It was the one way in, the one way out, and everything was in fucking flames.
It's a whole lot like the World Trade Center, isn't it? They were trapped by fire on floors above the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
It was real bad. And so everything that was flammable in this hotel just goes up in smoke. It's terrifying. And so the people end up going onto the window ledges like, you would normally do. If your room is filled with smoke, you're going to try to get out of whatever you can. And so people get so freaked out that they start jumping from these windows. Now, 15 stories is really high. And the firemen were like, don't jump from up there. It's going to kill you. But yeah, they didn't, they did not follow the firemen's orders. And
Did
so
they not have those big trampolines?
We're getting there. And so a few people initially start jumping, and yeah, they smack on the concrete like dead as soon as they hit. It's bad. And so the firemen are sort of faced with the dilemma of, do we just start fighting the fire, or are we going to try to save these people that are just panicking and jumping out of windows? So they're like, okay, we're going to start rescuing people, and they've called the backup fire. Like, everybody, eventually, the entire city's 60 truck fire department shows up to this place. They are doing it all. So, but initially they chose to go ahead and start saving people instead of like trying to kill the flames. And so everything in the fucking hotel was on fire. The wooden doors, the drapes, the furniture, the wall coverings. It was bad. It was really bad. And most of the transom windows in the rooms were open, and so basically it fed the flames even faster. So these people start trying to get out of the building safely, but the issue is that the fire department has these ladder trucks, but they only go to about the 10th floor. So everybody above the 10th floor is fucked. And
it's only 5 floors. It's fine. We'll sacrifice 5 floors worth of people.
So people start getting their bed sheets, and they start tying them together in ropes, trying to get down to the ladder so they can escape. And it worked for a couple people, but for a lot of people, they didn't tie those knots very well. And so they have it out the window, and people start falling off of the ropes that they have created, and they also fall through the smoke and smack on the ground and die. So they
this is so wonderful.
Yeah, it's fucking terrifying. So one of the stories is that a woman appeared on the 7th floor. She was on the ledge, and she had 2 kids, and a ladder comes up to meet her, but before it came, she couldn't see anything because of all the smoke, and before it came in reach of her, she threw her son and her daughter out to like the people below, like where they had like the nets they were trying to catch people in, and before, like, because the ladder was almost to her, but she couldn't see it, and she threw her kids, and yeah, they did not make it. And
this is fun.
Yeah, her nightgown ended up catching fire as she stood on the window ledge, and she jumped, and she basically missed the net that was stretched out down there, and she ended up landing on some wires, some electrical wires, and she burnt to death hanging in the air on the electrical wires. And then finally her body burnt through the wires, and it fell to the ground.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Thanks for that update.
Sorry.
Oh, God. Oh.
So the firemen ended up reaching one woman who was on the 5th floor right as she was losing her grip on the window, and he got the ladder and he got her onto his back, and he backed down the ladder with her. But right as he was like backing down the ladder, another woman from another like higher up floor jumped and landed on the fireman, and the woman broke the ladder, and all three of them fell to the concrete below.
This is so much fun.
Oh yeah, this is fucking terrible. You thought deep water was bad.
Well, no, I'm not that scared of this one. It's just, it's terrible to hear.
Yeah, it's bad. I probably should have done a content warning before we started, but
Well, here it is now, midway in.
Anyway, so the firemen were trying to urge everybody up there, hey, look, don't move. We're trying to do everything that we can. We're gonna, don't jump, please. Ended up, one girl had created a rope out of bed sheets, and she crawled 2 floors down on her bed sheet rope, and a fire ladder swung over to get her, and she was holding onto the sheets with one hand, and she sort of made a lunge for the ladder to get it, but just as she was grabbing for the ladder, the sheets fell apart, and she also fell and died. The firefighters had these safety nets, but unfortunately, they really weren't rated to be used from a height jump as high as they were jumping from.
Okay.
So the
I was going to say why in the first place, but I didn't. Okay.
Yeah, the force that, because I mean, they're basically, these nets are held by people, and they're stretched taut, and the terminal velocity is too much, especially depending on the weight of the person and all that. Anyway, the velocity is such that it's not supposed to be from a high level jump. These are only supposed to be like 8th floor, 5th floor kind of area jumps. They're coming from the 15th floor. That's 2 and 3 times higher than they're supposed to be jumping from to have these nets be effective. So sometimes these people would jump into the nets, and the nets would break, and it would still kill them. It was really, really bad. Some people tried to jump towards the nets, but they missed the nets by a few inches because they couldn't judge where they were because they were so high up and there was so much smoke. So it was rough. One of the stories is there was a woman on the 8th floor, and she was in a window ledge just begging for someone to save her son, and the flames just started blaring out the window behind her, and she flung the little boy into the air, and
Jesus.
One of the spectators saw that he was falling, and there was no firemen where they could get him, but they managed to race and get a net under it, and they caught the boy in the air, and he survived, and he didn't have any injuries.
Good God.
The mother did fall and died, but the little boy was safe, so that's good. A lot of other people just started leaping to their death because they could not stand the heat up there, regardless of what was below. And it was just massively, massively bad. One girl was about to jump, and she ended up finding a ladder and scrambling for the ladder sort of two floors below. But the searchlights that they had, on the building trying to find people in the windows, shone in her face, and it blinded her, and she missed the ladder, and her body fell because of it. So, yeah, these stories just continue and continue and continue, and it's
so
bad.
There's more?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot more, but I'm going to skip over a few of them because they're bad.
I think we're good anyway,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. So, anyway, these people, lots of them are just on the pavement, dead as a brick. A lot of them, when they made it, if they jumped, a lot of them still had very bad fractures, very bad head injuries, just very bad. But one of the, I've got to tell you some of these interior stories, though, because so a lot of the firemen, as soon as there were enough people outside rescuing people, a lot of them started on trying to get the fire put out from inside, and trying to rescue hotel guests that were stuck in their hotel rooms. So they started battling their way up the main staircase from the second floor. And so they get up and they're checking the rooms and trying to evacuate people as they're able to. But one family tried to seal off their room, and they took the family into the bathroom, and they turned on all of the water faucets and all of that stuff. But the water ended up boiling from the fire, and basically it steamed the family alive in the bathroom. The toilet exploded, and it asphyxiated everybody in the in that room. There was another couple though that was trapped on the 14th floor, and the flames were really bad, but they decided, okay, we know what to do. We're going to figure this out. So they closed the transom window to keep the air from flowing in there. They got the mattress off of the bed. They put it in the, up in front of where the thing is to sort of block the smoke, and they soaked the mattress in water, and they kept soaking the mattress in water, and it steamed the room, but it kept the fire from spreading into their room enough that they survived doing it that way. So they made it out alive by soaking that mattress with water continually. And one of the people that actually did survive was a military officer named Major Jake Cahill. And he was in a room with his wife, and he had sealed the transom window as well. And he and his wife ended up getting rescued by a ladder because they were on one of the lower floors.
Okay.
So they were rescued by the fire department from the 7th floor. But Cahill's mother was actually in the room next door, but they weren't able to reach her because fire had surrounded their room. So he was freaked out and upset, obviously. And so as soon as he got on the ground, he immediately rushed to the door, the building next door. And the building next door was the Mortgage Guarantee Building. And he found some scaffolding planks. And apparently these buildings are pretty close together. So he ran up to the 7th floor of the building across the street. He looks through the windows and he finds one that's directly opposite of the window that he needs to get in to save his mom. And he ends up being able to take these painter scaffolding and bridge the gap between the mortgage building and the hotel. And so he's able to go across that plank, get his mom, bring her back across the plank, and get back into the building, and she's able to escape from the mortgage building across the street.
Okay.
So the firefighters start seeing that, and he's like, oh yeah, that's fucking awesome. So they start rescuing more people that way as well, and some of the people that had already been evacuated start helping evacuate people that way.
Good.
So yeah, it was... Yeah, the whole thing ended up being 6 hours of fire. Some of the most just harrowing, terrifying stories come out of this thing. When the fire had finally been put out, it was so bad that the doorknobs had melted, the telephones had melted, the metal or the glass from the light bulbs had melted and fused. The elevator doors were twisted and melted. In some of the rooms, only the bed springs of the mattresses remained. Everything else had been completely burned up. There were bodies everywhere. There was smoke and it was bad. Everything was just, there were people that were dead from asphyxia that weren't even touched by the fire because of the smoke being as bad as it was. But the hotel structure was, in fact, still sound. It was, in fact, fireproof.
What the fuck? Who cares?
Yeah, the building still stands today. And yeah.
Who fucking cares? Good God.
So, yeah, eventually 119 people died that night.
Good God.
Another 90 people were taken away to area hospitals that were severely injured. The guy that built the hotel, that W. Frank Weinkauf, he was in his 10th floor suite, and he also died. Let's see. Yeah. So the hotel did, in fact, survive the fire. It was completely gutted, but they ended up reopening it in the 1950s as the Peachtree on Peachtree Hotel. And then that sort of failed out for a while, and in the 1960s it became a retirement home. And it was bought and sold a few times. It sat vacant for a little while, but eventually in the 90s it was redone and reopened as the Ellis Hotel, and it is still the Ellis Hotel today. It's a really swanky little boutique kind of hotel. It's real cute. But they say it is haunted as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine so.
So people say that they'll still smell the fire smoke occasionally. They say that when it was like first being renovated into the Ellis in the 90s, the workmen claimed that they heard footsteps and voices in the empty rooms. Their tools disappeared a lot, and they turned back up in other rooms in odd places. They hear footsteps a lot. They've heard cries and noises coming from sort of the edges of the building. They've seen sort of shadow people kind of in the windows. So, like, when it
shadows.
was... Yeah, but I mean,
Okay.
like... Not just shadows, but like shadows with faces, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because when this was happening in the pre-90s, when it was still a vacant building, people thought that, it was like homeless people squatting in the building, or people just out like exploring or whatever, and they would see these twisted, creepy faces in the windows, and they would call the police, and police would search the building, and they never found anyone in there. And they say that you can still see the faces sometimes, and they're still reported today, of these creepy, screaming faces that you'll kind of catch in some of the windows. People say that they've seen falling, like shadows, like of basically like maybe the ghost of people that are falling to their death from the
like
fire.
the people jumping.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So it's a creepy ass place. But you can spend the night there if you want to, because it is a hotel. And
I don't want to.
It's a nice hotel from their,
I would be
their
scared that it would
website,
catch
so-
on fire.
Yeah, it now has sprinkler systems. It has up-to-date fire and safety precautions. There's fire escapes. You're good.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I don't want to go, period.
It's a really cute hotel. I would probably stay there. Like, if you didn't tell me that 119 people burned to death in there, I'd be fine with staying there. But now that I know it, I don't know.
I was going to say, even then,
Yeah.
that shouldn't affect it. It was 100 years ago.
Yeah. But
So,
still.
you can go, if you want to. I'm just going to, like, is there a bar across the street or something?
Oh, there's a bar in the hotel.
No. I don't. I'm not just looking for a bar. I'm saying you can go in, and I'll go to the bar away from wherever that place is.
Well, we're not going to stay in Atlanta for anything anytime soon, so it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Well, that's not true. We're going to Doug Loves Movies in September. We might stay then.
Well, yeah, but then I'll make some of our friends that live there just let us crash on the couch because
Oh, you'll
I'm
make
not
them, huh?
spending Atlanta money to stay there.
I
Sorry.
bought tickets the day those went on sale.
Yeah.
For the show in Atlanta, September 8th or something.
Yeah.
I don't know when it is, but it's a Saturday.
It's going to be fun.
I can't wait. I love making name tags.
I know. All right, so that was our second story. I hope no one is permanently scarred. I did actually kind of cut out some of the worst of it. So if you're
thanks.
interested in that story and you want to hear some really gruesome, like face melting stories, they're there. Go look them up.
I don't. Fucking A. Is that story finally done?
Yeah, it's over.
Thank Christ. Let's just get a toast.
Okay.
Because I'm done talking about this thing.
Well, this toast gets a little dark, but fine. We'll get it over with
Yay.
and we'll be done. Okay?
All right.
All right, everybody hoist your goblet high into the sky. Let's just go for it. Okay. Frankie killed Charlie with the blade of an axe. She pulled up the floorboards and piled him in stacks. Some bodies dropped to the streets through the haze, while others burned or boiled up in the blaze. Drink.
Yay, Leah. You did so well with that subject matter right there. Good God. Leah asked me 4 hours ago, what rhymes with haze? I think the first thing out of my mouth was blaze.
No, I said what rhymes with blaze.
Blaze, okay. Yeah, that's right, because I said haze and glaze and phrase and maze, like both the puzzle and the corn.
Mm-hmm.
I even said that specifically.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad we're done with that stuff. I guess that's it for this week. This was enjoyable, except for that whole second half of the episode. But, thanks, Leah.
You're welcome.
Did you enjoy it?
No.
Yes, you did.
A little bit.
Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't have told it. Oh, well, that was horrifying, but I'm glad we got it out of the way so we don't have to do it again. So, anyway, if y'all want to tell us anything, feel free to find us on social media, Facebook and Instagram at Southern Spirits Podcast, Twitter at S-Spirits Podcast. That's where you can send us questions for midweek minis or personal stories, or you can email us, southernspiritspodcast@gmail.com. Y'all go tell your friends about the show as well. We just, we want to get more traffic, I guess.
Yeah.
We want people to hear us.
Tell us about, or tell your friends about us.
There you go.
That's the better.
Tell us about your friends.
Don't tell us about your friends. That'd be a little weird. Unless your friends are super cool or killed someone or saw a ghost. If you want your
Yeah,
if your friends
please
saw a
tell
ghost,
us if your
tell
friends
us about that.
killed someone.
Yeah, but only if
Jesus Christ.
it's been discussed with the police first.
Couple
I don't
weeks.
need any confessions. Is my point. I'm
Oh,
a little drunk, and my point is just share the love.
There you
We
go.
love y'all. Y'all love us. I think your friends might love us too, so tell them about us.
If
It'd
you
be
love
great.
us so much, you can start giving us money at patreon.com/Southern Spirits Podcast. Be a member of the Possum Passel. If you have any fun stuff to send us, like postcards or any other goodies, send those to our P.O. Box, which is P.O. Box 1743 in Hartselle, Alabama. That's HARTSELLE 35640. And we will see y'all next week.
Bye, y'all.